Good morning. It's Wednesday, August 8th. It's time to talk about the crisis that's happening in the lobster industry in the U.S. and Canada on both sides of the border. It might be helpful to give a little perspective. The lobster industry has really been in crisis for about 5 years now. They were one of the first fisheries to feel the real effect of the financial crisis. And in the fall of 2008, lobster prices totally collapsed as people were just terrified that demand was not there due to the financial turmoil. What happened then was quite unusual because the low prices spurred a real interest in lobster. And the following year, retailers rushed to promote lobster, and restaurants began adding lobster items on their menu in a way that was very healthy for the industry. Then what happened was prices on lobster tail and meat rose about 30 or 40%, and all of a sudden the restaurants which had been so enthusiastic about this product when prices were quite low began backing off. Now, fast forward to 2012. What we're seeing in 2012 is first, I think, an impact of climate change. Two things happened. In the Gulf of St. Lawrence, when the PEI season opened May 1st, harvesters could not find lobsters in the usual spots. They had migrated because obviously there's been low ice and water temperatures were warm. As a result, landings did not come in initially as heavily as thought, and processors bid up the price. So the PEI season in May and June started off with a very healthy price. Once that price was established, landings did pick up, but the price held, largely because processors were also hoping to get a boost from overseas customers such as China. Now, that season closed at the end of June. Now we fast forward to the Maine season, which began. Maine also saw significantly higher water temperatures. This caused the lobsters to molt early. When lobsters molt, they move around more, they come into the traps more, and they're also worth a lot less. So all of a sudden, the Maine lobstermen began to see these very, very heavy landings of shedder lobster, or soft-shell lobster, which are really not suitable for long-distance shipment. The result was a classic glut, and all of a sudden, the market changed on a dime and went from a period where in early May, lobsters may have been a little scarce to July, where they were definitely overabundant. Canadian processors did not want to pick up on this Maine lobsters right away, but eventually prices got so low that they really didn't have really a choice. They had to take advantage of this. At the same time, prices for lobster meat and tails have been declining steadily for the last 3 or 4 months, so we're obviously facing a weaker market. So climate change produced a burst of lobsters. The other problem is economic. The restaurant industry and the retailers are a lot more reluctant this time around to promote lobster at these lower prices. They still remember when they got burned last time, when as soon as they started promoting lobster, prices rose 30 or 40%. So there's been a very slow sort of uptake to the promotional opportunity, and that has exacerbated the problem, I think, particularly on the processor side. Finally, there are the overseas markets. Both Europe and Asia are important markets for lobster, and they're increasing in importance. And in Europe, we already know the decline in the value of the euro and the economic turmoil is definitely becoming a factor in seafood buying. So it doesn't bode well for this winter's lobster season there, sales there. And in Asia, we're also seeing some difficulty on the Chinese side, where some of the exporters that were very excited a year ago are a lot less excited today. So all of these things together are making a perfect storm in lobster. And as we said in a letter printed today, it's really up to the sellers to have the financial discipline to maintain this product and ultimately get the value that the product deserves. But they're all going through a very rough patch. In Lexington, Mass., this is John Sackton.